for marketeers to still have a seat at the table, yeah? And that's an ongoing challenge. So besides the rest of the C-suite, yeah? And I think it's maybe where you can also play a role in terms of the various industries you've worked in, Elouise. Does the CMO understand the real value of creativity, yeah? And what it can do for the business?
Anwar, my honest answer to that is, you know, there are different levels. Not all CMOs are equal.
Yeah.
And not all brands are equal. So you will find some CMOs who very much understand the power of a creative idea, especially in the world that we live in now, where everybody's fighting for the attention of the same people, you know, the same audiences, customers, consumers, whatever you want to call them. So a great creative idea is what allows you to cut through the clutter. But as we know now, and as the CMO knows now, that it can't just be a creative idea that lives on its own, that it's an interconnected creative idea that is applied on multiple platforms, that engages customers and increases their, you know, awareness and interaction with the brand or the product, and ultimately drives the results. So my answer is, I hope that all CMOs know that now, but we know that that's not necessarily always the case.
And what are some of those challenges these CMOs are navigating in the industry?
Sure, Anwar, we're only here for like an hour, right? I think some of the challenges are we haven't all dealt or come to terms with how pervasive disruption is, and how important it is for the CMO, the teams, the agencies to really try and be one step ahead of what the trends are, right? So I think that's one issue. The other thing is also data is data is data. I think oftentimes people just throw that word around quite loosely without necessarily understanding how it is that they need to mine that data, how it is that they need to have the right skill sets within their business units to understand that data, to help them make decisions. We're not saying that the CMO needs to know all of these things, do you know what I mean? But to have the right team to interpret and then inform the business decisions, not only just marketing objectives, but actually, as you say, you know, having that seat at the table and saying the data that we are seeing coming from our customers, from our platforms, from everything is available and is there for the CEO and everybody else to interpret and also, you know, help them drive business decisions. I think those are some of the challenges as well that are facing CMOs and their agency partners as well.
So Dick, you try and keep CMOs up to date and ahead of the game as the game is changing. Yeah, how are you helping them? Yeah, to keep one step ahead.
Yeah, I think once again we do only have an hour, and I won't say data is data and it's data, so I'll be very careful. But look, I think the role of the CMOs is naturally changing. And this is coming from someone who's never been a CMO, but we can see objectively that it's fundamentally changing. I mean, I've even been around at work functions where some people are saying, well, the CMO title is essentially not going to exist in 5 years. I personally disagree with that, but I do think that the role is going to change. So let's look at like what's changing from a marketing perspective. Now, we don't know what the future of marketing actually is. I can't say anyone can confidently predict that. But there's a number of vectors in play that are going to determine a lot more about what we think about the future. So just to briefly go over them, I mean, one is legislative and technology-based. Privacy is an absolute major industry shift that has completely turned things on its head. I think since Y2K, that's probably the most significant change we've had in the digital environment to date. So what does that mean? It means that data is more valuable than ever, and it means that we're going to get a lot less of it, and it's going to be a lot more inconsistent. The other thing is the consumer, right? I mean, there's this whole curious, demanding, and patient. We're all very demanding as consumers, but we're moving from a channel-centric perspective of how we do our jobs to a customer-centric one. And then, of course, technology is in such a rate of flux that I think change is an understatement. It's going absolutely crazy. So let me route this back to your question on CMOs. You know, you're in an environment where data ethics and responsibility are top of mind, where your consumer is very challenging to adhere to, where changes are constant. And I think you're also at a point where your role needs to fundamentally connect consumer value generation to the bottom line of a business rather than through any kind of prosody metric that you've traditionally created. So we help CMOs navigate that environment, if I had to put it in an overarching way. But we're leveraging data, we're leveraging technology, and I think most importantly, we're leveraging the development of skills and human capabilities to actually make that a reality. So I think, you know, there's a lot of challenges on every CMO's plate, but to the point of data is data, turning that into a very pragmatic view that we can put a strategic focus behind, I think is something that we got a lot of catching up to do on. So that's where we try help.